I was watching a YouTube video yesterday of someone that I subscribed to, and they said, question of the day, I guess, was, have you ever had a vehicle that you sold and regretted selling? And I thought, well, this is a pretty good topic. So let's go through all the vehicles I've owned and kind of break them down. So I've got this little folder that has every car I've ever owned, a picture of it, and a couple of pictures of potential future cars, but that's a different story. And and let's go through them and just break them down. So this one here was my Model Y Performance. These are not in any particular order at all. This is the one that we took across country to, you know, to see the country. When we got back, I immediately sold it for the Chrysler 300C. And looking back, having not keeping the 300C, having basically no intention of keeping the 300C, I kind of wish I wouldn't have sold this one. But this definitely wasn't my biggest regret. And I do have a new one now, a newer one. This particular one had issues. I mean, we drove it 9,000 miles. Everything in the cabin squeaked and rattled, and it needed a lot of work to get it back to acceptable standards. I also had curbed two wheels on this car, which I am not a fan of curbed wheels. I'm not a fan of damage on my car, period. So it would have made me like it less had I kept it. I'm happier with what I have now. So yeah. The Jeep Grand Cherokee L was the biggest pile. I custom ordered this exactly the way I wanted it. This is the highest possible trim, the Summit Reserve. Um, this is the color I chose. The interior was a tan. I love the interior. It was built with a big Hemi V8, which is something I was very interested in. Um, but there were just so many issues, and every time I drove it, it smelled like something was burning, and it kind of smelled like an electrical burning smell. Um, I fell out of love with this thing within a week of buying it, and I couldn't have gotten rid of it faster. So I don't regret selling this one at all. I still have this one, and I still have this one. This was my first ever Tesla. This was a long range with the upgraded wheels. I did get the wide interior. I went with this was not a free color at the time, but I thought that I liked it, so I went for it. I really wanted blue, but there was this thing in the back of my mind that said, maybe one day I'll get that Model X that I've been dreaming of. And yeah. So, um, when I sold this one, I definitely regretted it because I didn't realize how much I really liked driving a Tesla. And I didn't sell it to get another Tesla. I sold it for something completely different. And then I ended up going back to Tesla. But at the end of the day, had I not sold this, the doors would have never opened for the other cars that I owned and got to experience. So I feel like it was a piece in the puzzle that had to happen. And I'm not too upset about it. This was my first ever car that I purchased. I did have the Taurus before this, but I purchased this one. And I paid it off, within a couple of years. I worked toward it to get it paid off quickly. Um, this one, I mean, it there were a lot of memories in this car, and a lot of things that happened, a lot of places that I went. Um, Although I miss not having the car just for sentimental reasons, it was getting up there in mileage. It was getting older. Um, it wouldn't have lasted forever. I mean, it's probably well over 100,000 miles at this point, wherever it's at. So, I mean, it had to happen. And so I don't really regret it. I don't regret getting rid of this one either, just because, it had to happen. And we always, I mean, eventually we all have to upgrade our cars. We can't keep the same cars forever. This was a great car while I had it. I had very few mechanical, electrical issues with it. But, yeah. The Model X, one of two. This was sort of a dream for me to be able to own one of these. And that dream was quickly squashed by issues, paint issues. I mean, you name it. This thing, mechanical shutter issues. I did not. um, I don't regret getting rid of the X. I really wished I had an X, but the problem is I can't have an X that doesn't have problems. It appears every time I get one, it has problems, and I'm not going for third time's a charm on this. I mean, I tried twice, and here we are. My first Ford dually, I guess. um, this one I didn't entirely love it. I did drive it quite a bit. I had to daily it for a little while. Um, it was running a 410 axle ratio, and to me that didn't work out. I thought that I needed the 410 for my expected camper situation, but that never happened, and I'm driving around on a 410 for absolutely nothing. So it wasn't perfect, and I knew that there were better out there. This was also the previous generation before the redesign, which, if you can have the redesign, why wouldn't you? So, at the time, I may have regretted selling it, but as time goes on, not so much. This one was horrible. This is my first ever dually, and again, that was the whole idea, go get a camper, do some traveling, whatever. This truck drove horribly. I don't know what was wrong with it. I think it's just a Ram thing, where the front sway bar or something. I don't know. Someone explained it to me one time. It made perfect sense, and now I have no clue what they said. But it's something to do with the front sway bar. It's either non-existent or it's not what Ford uses. I don't know. Anyway, it swayed way too much. You were doing a lot of corrective action to just try to keep it in the road. It was not a good truck. I could not have seen myself driving this across country. It would have just been bad. So, I don't regret selling that one. I regret buying it. That's what I regret. That was a lot of money, and of course, every time I trade cars, I lose something. And I thought this was going to be a good idea. I actually went to go buy a different one, and it had already sold, and I should have just turned around and went home. That's the day I traded my first Tesla for this. So it was a double whammy because I regretted selling the Tesla and I regretted buying this. So I actually called the dealer and asked them if they would trade me back. Take this truck back, charge me like $5,000 or whatever, and give me my Tesla back. And they said they would, and I really should have. I really should have took it. I really should have just done it. But I didn't. I thought, well, I've not even given this truck a chance. I should at least try it. No, I should have done it. This Model 3 I just bought for Toro. It was not really anything I was sentimentally attached to. I've got another Model 3 at the end of the list that same thing. So no big deal there. There's my other Model X. This was actually my first one. It had more issues than my second one. So, The Rivian R1S, I really didn't have it long enough to experience it. This is one that I had ordered. It did have the white interior, the Rivian blue exterior, and the 22-inch wheels. These are all customizations I had picked and ordered years ago, and it finally became available, and I went and got it. I really didn't keep this that long, and I really didn't drive it while I had it. When I got it, there were some interior squeaking issues, which Rivian did fix for me. And then I sold it. um, I kind of wish I had kept it longer and experienced it and, done something with it. But I didn't. I ended up selling it to go buy my last Super Duty, which it's a catch 22 because I liked the Super Duty, but I wish I had done more with this one. I think this could have been a really good traveling car. I took it to Georgia to go see the Rivian R2, and I used Tesla superchargers the entire way, and it was a very enjoyable trip, which is not usual for something like this because Electrify America sucks. This is the one that I regret selling. um, my first truck. I bought this truck, I don't know. I bought it in 2020, 2019, something like that. This one I do regret getting rid of. I searched high and low to find this truck, and it was a leap forward for me. It was a chance because I didn't know about these eco diesels, and I'm learning now that they're not all that. But at the time, I didn't know about these eco diesels, and I was not sure about what I might be getting into. For the most part, while I had it, great truck, no issues. So I regret getting rid of it. This was one of my favorites. Um, but like I say, it opens the door to move into newer, bigger things. I think I actually traded it for the first dually that I bought because I had the X, the Model Y, and the dually at one point, and that's when I had to go daily drive the dually. That's my Rivian. I have a better picture of it. We'll talk about it in a minute. There's the R2, which I'm not on that. Here's my Super Duty, my last Super Duty. Whoa, can't even talk. My last Super Duty, and I do absolutely regret getting rid of this one. The problem is there's certain things an electric truck can do, and there's certain things a diesel truck can do, and they don't intertwine. And I get more benefit out of the electric trucks for now. I would love to be able to do diesel truck things in the future, but I can't have both out of one. So I basically have to have two trucks if I'm going to do that. This served the diesel truck part of what I really liked, and but it doesn't serve the electric truck part of having an electric truck, and that's why ultimately I chose to stay with electric over this because I can use the electrics more. Namely, the backing up your house and stuff like that. Those are big benefits for me. So I miss this truck. I regret selling this truck, but I feel like it didn't really serve a purpose right now, and maybe in the future, who knows? This is my first ever car. My grandma bought this car for me. It served its purpose. It had like 190,000 miles when I got rid of it, and it had a lot of issues. So I wasn't really even attached to this car. I had so much money dumped into this car that it didn't really matter to me at that point. I sold it to my aunt. My aunt drove the crap out of it. It was barely running when it got police impounded, and she let them have it. So, yeah. Here's my Rivian, and this one is a huge regret as well. But like I said earlier, it would have closed doors that it opened. By selling it, it allowed me to try different things and get different cars, and it's gotten me into the Cybertruck now. And overall, on paper, just overall, I think the Cybertruck is a better truck than the Rivian. The Rivian looks nice. It looks great. Ultimately, the only thing I hated about this truck was the fact that I had damaged it, and Rivians are very expensive to fix. So I sold it as is with the damage on it, And of course, the new owner damaged it even more. So, no harm there. But, yeah, I mean, I liked the truck. I really liked having it. It was kind of middle ground. It was more trucky. It was a smaller truck so that it could do more things, but it didn't really check the boxes for being, what I needed out of an electric truck or a diesel truck. It couldn't back up your house in an outage. It couldn't do any of that. Um, Meanwhile, it could tow pretty good, and it could go into smaller places because it was small. Good truck. I kind of regret getting rid of it, but like I say, it opened doors for new things, and that's where we are. The Durango is another one of those that I wish I just never bought. I bought this because we were going on our round the country trip, and I was kind of afraid to take electric, mainly because there were places like Glacier that I wanted to go that I knew I wouldn't make with electric. And so I didn't need this car, but part of me was like, oh, I should get it for the trip, and I'll just sell it when I come back. That's the plan. Um, I went and looked at it and was able to negotiate them down like 12 grand off the MSRP, which I felt like was a good deal. And I bought it. And then within a week of buying it, the blind spot sensors went out. And it was something I had to schedule service for. And having, they fixed it, no big issue. But having something go out that quickly in a brand new car, I lost my trust in it and I really didn't want to take it across the country. Plus, I think it would have been way cooler to take something electric. You never know if you're going to be able to ever do this again. This may be a once in a lifetime trip, and so let's make it mean something. So taking an electric car over a gas car meant more to me than that. So I left it at home, and when I came back, I sold it. So it really served no purpose. I think I put less than 1,000 miles on it. I've always really liked the look and design of the Durango, but practicality using it, I felt like it was just really cheap made. The doors were very light, and I like a very strong, solid door to make it feel like at least it's put together well. This one did not give me that feel of confidence, and I just I didn't like it. I got to try my Citadel, and then I moved on. I don't regret selling this one at all whatsoever. Ford really needs to get their crap together and learn how to make a truck or an electric truck. Um, we won't talk anymore about that. Just didn't like it. I still have this one. The 300C was when they first announced it. It was kind of like, oh, this is our final car. It comes in a 6.4 liter. It's all decked out. It comes with everything, and I was definitely interested. Having owned that first 300 and having some sentimental attachment to it, I definitely wanted this. When I ordered it, I was in a better state financially that I could have afforded it and bought it as like a fifth car and just kept it. And that was perfectly fine. When it came in, I was not in that situation, and buying it was a struggle. I actually had to go figure out a different way to do it, which is trading my Model Y that we took on our around the country trip. And like I say, the Model Y opened doors for other things by trading it, but um, I wish this wasn't the door that I went through, because I ended up selling this car with 700 miles on it. I was too afraid to drive the car because I knew that if something happened to it, it was irreplaceable. There was no replacing it. I could get it fixed, sure, but who wants a previously damaged car? Um, I could not buy a new one of these cars. And um, ultimately, that made me afraid to drive it. And I'm not worried about what I would do to it. I'm worried about what everyone else would do to it. And yeah, so it sat right here. under the carport for the most of the time I had it. I drove it a couple of times to the next city over for like to get food, and that was about it. It never left this county the entire time I had it. And I can't have a $60,000 asset that I don't use just sitting there. You know, at the time when I ordered it, I could have. And at the time when I ordered it, I was moving forward with building my house. I was like, I've got a spot in the garage for this. It will sit there forever. That didn't work out, and that's where we are. So, and then my Model 3, my final Model 3, which was a Toro vehicle, so it doesn't really have any sentimental value at all. So, of these, what do I regret the most? Well, rather than telling you that, let me just tell you what would I like to do in the future. That. I've talked about this for years, and I've talked about, how I would like to do it, like to try it, blah, 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 blah. And at the end of the day, I've bought the trucks. I never bought the camper. I never moved forward. I think that, when I bought the black truck, that was the first dually, I made a huge mistake. I didn't do enough homework. I bought the wrong brand. I did not like it. And I lost money doing that. And then when I bought the second truck, I was still making good money. It was the blue F-150 with the 410 axle ratio. I was still making good money. I could have made it happen then, but I didn't. I focused on other things. I don't even know what those other things were. Honestly, at the end of the day, what I should have done when I bought that truck is sold my Model X and took the money and bought a camper, and I'd have had enough money left over to buy something like a Model Y. It would have been perfect. I sold that Model X for $127,000, and if I had spent $70,000 on a camper, there would have been plenty left over for a Model Y, which is what I have now. So it's not the end of the world. I should have done that, and I didn't. And that's just saying, that's what I should have done with what I had, not even counting the fact that I was still making good money. I don't know why I chose not to do that. I did owe on that truck. I took out a loan on it. So I was more focused and upset about the fact that I had a car payment than I was following my plans. And I ended up selling it. One of the main reasons was because of that car payment. It bothered me. And then when I got the newer dually, I was no longer in a position to where I could afford this. I didn't have assets that I could go sell to do that. I did buy the new one on loan as well, but I only financed like 10 grand. So it's not like the payment was crazy. The issue is I didn't make the money I used to make, and I couldn't just go buy a camper at that point. So it was kind of like a get it, hold on to it, drive it for a few years, and then maybe I'll get a camper in the future. And, well, maybe doesn't really work out, because then I feel like I'm sitting on an asset for nothing again. And so I ended up getting rid of it. So this is my dream vehicle. I'd like to have one of these, but I'd like to have it no strings attached. I'm not going to trade my Cybertruck for it. If I ever trade my Cybertruck, it's going to be for another electric vehicle, because I have a need and a use for electric vehicles. I will not trade my electrics for this, just because it doesn't check all the boxes. It doesn't serve all the purposes I currently have and need out of an electric vehicle. So getting one of these would have to be an addition, a fourth vehicle added to my fleet. And where am I going to pull $100,000 out of? Who knows? so this is a potentially obtainable dream, but not anytime soon. And I've built a couple. These are 450s. So that's up in the air. I would probably still want to do 350. It's just that the turning radius on the 450 is so much better. But there's the drawbacks of the 450 that I've gone through many times, and it's like I think I'd rather just have the 350. So yeah, this one is a 2024 model, and this is the limited trim. They have discontinued the limited trim, so now for the 2025 models, you have to do this one, which is the Platinum Plus. It says Platinum, but you have to add it as a Platinum Plus later on in the thing. This one's actually like $300 cheaper, I think I said. I already closed the other one, so I don't know. But basically the same thing. It just doesn't have the limited nameplate, and the seats are not nearly as cushiony as they are in the limited, and they're a different color. But other than that, it's still a very solid truck. So yeah, that would be my dream truck, and probably the one I regret selling the most would be that last F350 that I had. Um, I hated to get rid of it because of all the stuff that I had done to it and customized it, but at the same time, like I say, it was an asset sitting there for nothing. It was not serving a purpose and not going to serve a purpose for years. And I just couldn't see myself continuing that. So I sold it. And I bought the Cybertruck with it, which I think was a pretty good trade because Cybertruck is definitely more useful for me at the current day. And who knows, in the future, if things work out, I start making good money, who knows? Maybe I can go back and get one of these. But we've got some things in the works. We've got some plans going on right now. There's a slight chance that I will be out of debt pretty soon. So, and I'm not filing bankruptcy to do it. So, we did get an offer on the land, and we're trying to negotiate to see if we can get them up a little more. But at this point, I think we're at an amount that I could accept. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. They could always just back out entirely. So we'll see how that goes.